I want to give you another session on the mechanics of movement that I think have gotten oftentimes not exposed to the athlete to help them as far as movement mechanics are concerned. Things that really I've never heard talked about over all the years of training and listening to people. Have heard little to any direct reference to these points. And again, or at least in this description that I'm going to give you today. But we talked about yesterday about the alignment, and I want to keep in mind that we'll go back to the Paul Brown principles of even football, where everything starts in the middle, okay? And now people are trying to get off that basic fundamental, but you can't. And the same thing is true with the body. Everything starts in and moves in and out of the center or the core of the body. I prefer the power center of the body. And again, in order to get everything activated correctly, you need to keep that always in mind. Yesterday we talked about the importance of where the pressure is depending upon or where the knees are depending upon where the toes are, first and second toe. You want to keep the knee right in line with the first and second toe. Today I want to move up the chain, okay, we talk about knee and the toe and relationship of the foot, whether in or out, to be on the first and second toe. All right, that keeps the core or the power center integrated. The next thing I want to talk about is and I've found this to be really evident and helpful with the B3 bands by just using a cross trainer in a slow, methodical movement pattern where I'm trying to activate everything and keeping the pressure for 20 seconds on the inside of the heel, keep the pressure on the outside of the foot for 20 seconds with the toes turned in. So toes out, pressure on the inside of the heel, toes in, pressure on the outside of the foot. So these are good body mechanics that keep everything centered in the core of your movement pattern, okay, or the core of your body. All right, the next area that I want to emphasize that oftentimes is neglected or does not get emphasized at all is that of the hips. If you watch the great backs over the years, or the great runners, or the great athletes, I don't care what they're doing, pole vaulting, running down the ramp for a pole vault, or running down the ramp for a long jump or whatever, if you watch their hips move to the center of the body. So, and this is one thing with your bigger athletes, your less athletic athletes, that you need to really emphasize, and that is the movement of the hips. Again, the hip moving to the center of the body, okay, pressure on the outside of the foot, move to the center of the body, and the hip moving backwards and following through to pressure all the way onto the ground, okay, to get all the way back to the rear center of the body. And in doing this, you're activating, again, all that musculature that's involved in the hip and the abdominal area and the core or the power center of the body. So hip movement is extremely important. Hip moving towards the center of the body, okay, and hips moving to the center of the body in the posterior chain. These are exceptionally important points because this is going to determine, again, your triple joint extension and how powerful that is. And this is something that I think oftentimes gets misconstrued. We look at the follow through versus the push through. Okay, it's important that I drive, and particularly your non-athletic kids, you need to emphasize even more and more that it's important that they drive through the ground as hard as they can to move into the triple joint extension. So heel of my toes turned out, knees on the first and second toe. I drive through the heel all the way up to the toe, and now I've integrated all the way up through the power center. If you do this in slow motion with them, they'll start to feel what we're talking about, and they'll be able to integrate into a full movement. I prefer to call everything a quick movement because I think that delineates more decisiveness as opposed to doing things fast. Fast is usually sloppy and non-decisive, and that's not something that we want. And particularly with your non-athletic kids, you need to go through this more explicitly with them than you do the more athletic kids. Although the athletic kids would benefit because they'll pick it up so much more efficiently and quickly if you just go through it in slow motion with them. I think too often we underestimate the importance of doing things in slow motion. Also, I think we underestimate the importance of doing things in reverse, because the body neurologically integrates things better when we do things slow motion. We do them not only forward, but we also do them in reverse. So just another part of moving up the chain or moving up the body for, again, proper movement patterns, particularly with your more non-athletic type athletes, which are traditionally, that's where your offensive linemen go. So, and we're asking them to do a lot of things that are very difficult for a good athlete, let alone an athlete that's challenged. So this is why I like the bow tie. I think, again, it keeps your shoulders back, scapulas pulled back, and also if you pull down, then you get everything integrated. Now everything is centered, okay, in the posterior anterior chain the way it should be, not like so many things where we're always slightly leaning forward. So again, posterior chain, pulled back, scapulas pulled back and pulled down, and again, now you have a solid foundational base on your feet, and you're able to move in all directions. If you watch Barry Sanders over the years, if you're fortunate enough to look him up on YouTube or look him up on the internet and watch him run, and it looks like he's got his shoulder pads on backwards because he has such tremendous posture, and that tremendous posture was what allowed him to cut so well.